Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about magic and Judaism. So to clarify up front what these mean, Judaism, as it's called, is the application of Talmudic principles to enslave people, and magic is the means of confusing people and taking advantage of their fear and their weaknesses in order to stop them from thinking that they do not question their slavery. Because as soon as somebody understands that they're a slave, they're going to want to start telling everybody, and everybody going to want to be free. They don't want that. Magic. The pretended art of producing preternatural effects. Okay, so let me finish explaining to you what's going to happen in this video. We're going to look at the article on magic at JewishEncyclopedia.com. This is a facsimile from a 100-year-old encyclopedia, which I inferred the age of it from some information, something that it said in one of the articles. But anyway. And then we're going to look at the Jewish Encyclopedia entry on, what is it called? What do they call it? Community organizing. And we're going to cross-reference this with a book of mine from 1771, which is about what was going on in the year 1770. Okay? And we're going to read specifically about the Russians. And we're going to observe that the Russians were enslaved by Jews. Okay? Not real Jews. Real Jews are people who have love and understanding, people who follow the truth. These people, obviously, with their magic and their slavery and all that, they have no part with the truth, with freedom. So we're going to look at how the Russians in 1770 were living under Talmudic slavery. And then we're going to take a look at 2025 at how we all still living in Talmudic slavery. So, here you go. Let me get started. Magic. The pretended art of producing preternatural effects. One of the two principal divisions of occultism, the other being divination. The effects produced may either be physical, as a storm or death under conditions insufficient to explain its occurrence, or any phenomenon impossible in the ordinary course of nature, or mental, and the latter either intellectual, as preternatural insight or knowledge, or emotional, as love or hate arising or disappearing in obedience to the arbitrary will of the magician. The methods of producing these effects include, on the one hand, actions of various sorts, and on the other, incantations, invocations, and the recitation of formulas. And what does recitation mean? Is to say it. These people with their words. Even in the Talmud, the act of the results, even in the Talmud, the act and the results produced by it are regarded as the criteria of magic, and these two factors appear in all forms of witchcraft as essential characteristics. Closely connected with magic are superstition and demonology. Insofar as gods are invoked, demons frequently being degraded gods, magic is akin to idolatry, and in a certain sense, to astrology. Jewish magic is mentioned as early as Deuteronomy, 10, 15, 18, 10 through 11, where various classes of diviners, astrologers, and exorcists are named, their ceremonies being forbidden as idolatrous. Nor is there any doubt expressed as to the actual potency of magic, and the magician who may misuse it is accordingly feared and abhorred. Micah 5:11, Jeremiah 27:9, Exodus 22:17 through 23, et al., whatever that means. The commonest form of magic was the love charm, especially the love charm required for an illicit amour. Such magic was practiced especially by women, so that magic and adultery frequently are mentioned together. 2 Kings 9:22. I don't know what this means. NAH 3:4. Malachi 3:5. The law, Exodus 22:17, which punishes sorcery with death, speaks of the witch and not of the wizard. This was correctly interpreted by the Talmud, of course, in Sanhedrin 67a, as implying that magic was practiced chiefly by women, and the context of the passages in Exodus which mention sorcery clearly shows that it was associated with sexual license and unnatural vices. The frequency of allusions to it in the Bible indicates that the practice of magic was common throughout Israel. More abundant information is found in the post-biblical literature, especially in the Babylonian Talmud, where the great number of the passages alluding to magic furnishes incontrovertible evidence of its wide diffusion. It was, however, only practice of witchcraft which was prohibited, for a knowledge of magic was a knowledge of magic was indispensable to a member of the chief council or of the judiciary, and might be acquired even from the heathen. The most profound scholars were adepts in the black art, and the law did not deny its power. The people, who cared little for the views of the learned, were devoted to witchcraft, though not so much as the Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. Adultery and sorcery have destroyed everything. And then there's a quotation of something. Sotah 9:13. The majesty of God departed from Israel, and his wrath came upon the world when the wizards became too numerous. And it's going on to cite the Talmud. Shattah hanged 80 witches in a single day. Ecclesiasticus, I don't know the L. What is L in Roman numerals? XLII 9 through 10 is quoted in the Sanhedrin 100b with the addition of the words, "When the daughter grows old, she will probably deal in magic." This ingrained belief in magic infected the scholars, for although they did not practice witchcraft for gain or for unlawful ends, they occasionally counteracted black magic by white. They were even able to create a calf when they needed food. Healing by means of white magic is not condemned when the means employed are pagan or idolatrous. Many scholars consumed men with a glance, or reduced them to a heap of bones. But since this magic was regarded as a punishment for sins which had been committed, the passages of the Talmud which mention it take no exception to it. Exorcism also flourished, although not as widely as in Judeo-Christian circles. Jesus was regarded in the Talmud and by the ancient world generally as a magician. Sanhedrin 106b, Sotah 47b. See Jesus in Jewish legend on JewishEncyclopedia.com if you are so inclined. The Greco-Roman world regarded the Jews as a race of magicians. That's from Juvenal 6, 542 through 547. Suidas, I don't know what I'm reading. The means adopted in witchcraft were manifold. The most potent was human speech, to which all peoples attribute invincible power. Open not thy mouth for evil. Those words of the magician are all powerful, which he utters at the right time and place and under proper conditions. Since official Judaism bitterly opposed black magic, there was a constant stream of prohibitions against it, and from these, the existence of various forms of witchcraft can be inferred. The secret Jewish name of God was a powerful factor in incantation, as is shown by the Egyptian magic papyri written in Greek, in which heathen and Jewish names of the deity are frequently found in juxtaposition or combination, termed union. I'm looking at it in modern Hebrew, trying to read it. By the Talmud. Okay. Page 2. In addition to the magic word and the magic formula, there were various magic objects which were used to avert the evil eye. Women and children, and even animals as being weaker and less capable of resistance, were protected by amulets and talismans. These charms consisted either of natural objects or of papers with writing on them. Copies of the Bible had protective power while carried especially on journeys, while the Tefillin, as their Greek name, phylacteries implies, were also regarded as preservative, at least in Hellenistic circles, as were the slips of paper, which is called mezuzah, attached to the doorposts. Blah has edited, translated, and explained two Hellenistic exorcismal formulas, one of which was found in a grave in Hadrammetum, I don't know, in the ancient Byzantium, in the Roman province of Africa. In addition to the official sources from which the data given above are derived, the Apocrypha, in connection with the subject of magic. Okay. The Apocrypha, in view of its antiquity, deserves attention in connection with the subject of magic. The general picture which it presents is the same as that given by the Bible and the Talmud. According to the book of Enoch 9:7, the angels taught the daughters of men incantations, exorcisms, and the cutting of roots, and revealed to them healing plants. The heart, liver, and gall are magic agencies, and the blind Tobit recovers his sight when his eyes are anointed with the gall of a fish. Noah's Book of Healing, Jubilees 10, was magical in character, as were the writings of Solomon and Moses mentioned elsewhere. In the Middle Ages, as in antiquity, the Jews were regarded as magicians, and many of them doubtless profited by the general delusion. In the 19th century, a Jewish magician named Zambrio is found in Italy, and Sicilian sorcerers flourished even a century earlier. The Arabic author Mazudi speaks of a Jewish magician. The Jews were considered sorcerers in Germany also. In times of drought during the Middle Ages, the people turned to the Jews, who were supposed to be able to cause rain, and they are still regarded by some people as magicians. Actually, it says by some peoples as magicians. The diversity existing within ancient Jewish magic and the essential contradiction between witchcraft and monotheism are in themselves evidences of a foreign influence on the system. The scholars of the first centuries and the present era refer frequently and unanimously to Egypt as the original home of magic arts. In the Bible, the real homes of all varieties of witchcraft are given as Egypt and Babylon. It is very probable that, in this respect, both countries influenced Israel, and their political power and high civilization made it inevitable that influence should be deep, although the lack of historical data renders it impossible to determine its extent or trace its course. The influence of Egypt admits of no doubt as regards Julian, hello. The influence of Egypt admits of no doubt as regards post-biblical Judaism, which was for a long period under the control of the Ptolemies, both in its civilization and its government. The Egypto-Hellenistic syncretism of Alexandria, and through them the Jews of Palestine. Oh, I missed a word. The Egypto-Hellenistic syncretism influenced first the Hellenistic Jews, especially those of Alexandria, and through them the Jews of Palestine. The Jewish and Judeo-Christian view as the source of Hebrew magic is confirmed by the books of Hermes and by the recently discovered Greek and Coptic magic papyri, in which the Jewish element is no small factor, and Jacob has recently proved that the belief in the almighty power of the name of God is Egyptian in origin. Although Assyrio-Babylonian and other elements are not lacking, they are for the most part astrological and divinatory in character. Egypt, therefore, gave ancient Judaism its magic, and Babylonia gave it its divination, while Hellenism served as the connecting link. How about that? In view of the authority which the Talmud possessed for posterity, the magic in it could not but influence later generations. There is no doubt that the majority of the theurgic and magic elements in the post-Talmudic literature, which Jelinek connected in his Bet HaMidrash, date from Talmudic and in part even from pre-Talmudic times. See Gnosticism at JewishEncyclopedia.com, if you're so inclined. This may be assumed also for the magical portions of the Geonic literature in general, especially as the Geonim lived and worked in Babylonia. This ancient magic, blended with Hellenistic and medieval European elements, was incorporated in the, quote, practical Kabbalah. At the close of the Middle Ages, the Kabbalah, C-A-B-A-L-A, influenced the Jewish and Christian world alike. The Nishat Hayim of Manasseh ben Israel, chief rabbi in Amsterdam in the 17th century, is filled with superstition and magic, and many Christian scholars were deluded. The evil deeply and widely infected the people and is still active, especially among the Hasidim. See Abracadabra, Abraxas, Asmodeus, astrology, Asusa, A-S-U-S-A, augury, Balaam, bibliomancy, blessing and cursing, death, folk medicine, Hermes, books of liver, necromancy, etc. Okay, now what I want to do is we're going to go to Wiktionary.com and we're going to find out what some words mean. Okay, so here we are on a Wiktionary. This is magic. Magic is the application of rituals or actions, especially those based on occult knowledge, to subdue or manipulate natural or supernatural beings and forces in order to have some benefit from them. My magic will help you find true love, sweetie, said the witch as she looked for the right herbs in her collection. And here are some synonyms. You have dwemer, conjuring, sorcery, witchery, witchcraft, wizardry, warlockery, hexcraft, spellcraft, charm work. And hey, don't let the use of the word witch when talking about a bunch of men confuse you. Just keep in mind that Satan is gay, and his people love the gay stuff and swapping genders. It's pretty confusing whenever you're talking about a bunch of men, but you're addressing them as women. This is the ancient Greek roots. Originally, it's Avestan, right? Which is Iranian. But here we have it in ancient Greek, magos. It's a magician, a sorcerer, a trickster, a conjurer, a charlatan. Ooh, synonyms. Goes. Goes? I don't know. Pharmaketus. That's a familiar word. Pharmaketus. I know part of that word. From pharmaketo, to administer a drug, or to practice sorcery. Either or. Pharmaketus is from pharmaketo, which means to administer a drug or to practice sorcery. Wow, that's amazing. And there you have it. A pharmaketus is a sorcerer or a poisoner or a druggist or an apothecary or a magician. I mean, who'd have thunk that these things are synonyms? If I may tinker with that word, pharmaketus, let's just translate that to English. Pharmacist. Okay? So we have here the root of the word pharmacist, which means this person who administers drugs. It's considered a synonym with magos, which is a magician, with sorcerer, and with poisoner. Goodness, what is this Gios thing? We'll find out one day. Okay, last one we'll check out is dwemer. It's an English word. It means illusion, delusion, or sleight, or magic. Wow. An illusion, right? Okay, so it's an illusion. It's a delusion. I mean, so what it's saying, to call it a delusion, so dwemer is the act of tricking everybody, right? It's the act of applying the Talmud to their governance. How about that? We're going to take a look at how, if one of those so-called Jews, if they were to find my books, this is going to show us what their attitude would be toward them. It would be regarded as lost property. So let's see.
Even in cases in which the finder is permitted to retain the lost property, yet if he wishes to follow the good and upright path and act beyond the legal requirements of the law, he should return the property to the one who identifies it. Some maintain that he is compelled to do so if he be a man of wealth, but if he is a poor man and the one who lost it is a man of means, he need not act beyond the requirements of law. If one finds Hebrew scrolls, even in a town where the majority of which are idolaters, he must proclaim them, because it is assumed that the owner did not abandon the hope of recovering them, knowing well that any idolater who would happen to find the scrolls would not sell them except to an Israelite. Oh, jeez.